Okay, I'll just ask a few questions and then we'll open it out to the floor. Malorie, this is a book in which extraordinary things happen to a 13-year-old boy. Not only does he have, I'm going to be careful that I don't give the book away for those of you who haven't read it, but extraordinary things happen to him. Not only does he have a heart transplant, but also then the media find out about it and it becomes an object of public scrutiny, really. And that leads to all kinds of other things happening to him. Are you sort of happy with the way the book has kind of worn over the years? Do you think it's still relevant?
I think it is, in a way, in that the whole topic of organ donation is still really relevant because there still aren't enough people carrying organ donor cards, and there are people on waiting lists who die on those waiting lists waiting for a heart transplant or a kidney transplant or a lung transplant or whatever. And so unfortunately that still is relevant. And I think also what I wanted about this, I mean, when I wrote I wrote this quite a number of years ago, but the thing about it is that Cameron tells his best friend, he's not meant to tell anyone outside the family, but he tells his best friend Marlon. Marlon's really upset about it and tells his dad, and then his dad sells the story to the newspapers, and that's how it all comes out. And so, of course, they've got the world's press camped on their doorstep and so on. And I think, unfortunately, that bit is relevant too, because in these days where the press kind of, for any little story, they will not leave you alone. I think that, unfortunately, would be the case. And Cameron's thing has been, he's going to get his heart transplant, and then his life is going to go back to normal. And unfortunately, that's not quite the way it works. And he also realises throughout the story that he's lost some of his friends because they're scared to be near him because they think they might catch something. And he had a really good friend who didn't want to be anywhere near him because of that. And so there's all these kind of various issues I wanted to explore, this idea of kind of being ignorant about something leading to fear and leading to a change in the sort of way you treat someone. I mean, for example, if you were to find out that your best friend, for example, was a robot, would it change the way you viewed them? Would it change the way you thought about them? Would you think, well, I can't be friends with a robot? So it's all that kind of thing of if you know someone for a long time and then suddenly you find out just one little thing about them, how does that change your perception of them? So that's what I wanted to play with in the story.
There's a whole cast of characters in the book and lots of different themes. How did you plan your book? Did it all come to you, the whole story complete, or what's your writing process?
No story ever comes to me complete. I mean, I get the basic idea, and then what I do is I try and sit down and plot it. And what I do spend a lot of time on doing, and this is advice to anyone who loves writing out there, is try and do a sort of mini biography of all your major characters. Write about the things they like, they dislike, what sort of music are they into, what kind of food do they like. And I always do at least 3-4 pages for all my major characters that way, so I really get to know them. Because the thing is, if all of us, for example, if something were to happen and we were to find that, for example, all the doors leading out of this auditorium were suddenly locked, and we had no idea why, and we were stuck here. Now, the thing is, we're all in the same kind of situation, but how each of us would react would be different because we're all different people, and that's what makes the story. It's the characters. For me, the plot is the plot. I mean, that's just to drive you through the story. But what makes it is the characters, and whether you like the characters, and whether you can sympathise with them or empathise with them. And so that's what I really spend a lot of time on. So with the characters, once I really get to know them, then I can kind of know how they would react in any situation. So I have my basic story, and in this one it was about Cameron getting this heart and how it changes his life and how it affects his friendship with his best friend Marlon, because of course Cameron is really, really upset with Marlon for blabbing to his dad, and then suddenly his family are being persecuted. And it's how, do they get back together again as friends and so on. And also there's animal rights people who come after him and so on. So his life really does change. But for me it was about making sure I had my main characters right, because then I kind of would know how they would react in any situation.
Yeah. For me, reading the book again, it still seems as relevant today as it was maybe when I first read it about 10 years ago, I think. But is there, if you did have to change anything, is there anything you would change at all about the story? Maybe scientific advances?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, because this has been reissued with a new jacket, I had the chance to change some stuff. So in fact, this has been brought up to date. So I did get a chance to change it, and so there are things in the old one that have been changed to make it in the new one. They've been changed and it's been kind of modernised, but the basic story and the characters are the same. But it's things like, for example, where I referred to videos, etc. Now it's DVDs and so on. So, and then there's various other bits that I kind of rewrote just to kind of make them a bit tighter, etc. So I have brought it up to date now.
And do you ever wonder what's happened to Cameron?
I do actually. In fact, this is one of the books. I mean, my belief is once I finish a book, then it's done, and then I move on to the next one. But I must admit, I've been in the back of my head thinking about A Pig-Heart Boy 2, and told from the point of view of his brother's. His mum's pregnant at the beginning of the story, and she has a child called Alex. That's who he was talking to, because he makes little video diaries for Alex just in case something happens to him, and I thought the second story I'd like to tell from Alex's point of view about what happened to his brother. So maybe one day I will do that, because I do think about Cameron and how his life has moved on.